Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, a lot of reasons to celebrate today. This is going to be a long one. That's what she said. Just kidding. Anyway, as you guys all know, I hit the coveted 100,000 subscribers mark last night. Woo woo! 2 weeks before my birthday, so early birthday present. Thank you all so very much for helping to make that birthday wish come true. I can't even tell you how much it means to me. I should be getting a plaque soon, so I'll share that with you guys when it arrives from YouTube. But equally as exciting, Tina Peters was found guilty yesterday. This was such an easy case to decide. There was so much evidence. There were numerous witnesses who testified against her, people who were considered co-conspirators. So here's what all went down. The jury deliberated for only 4.5 hours, and then they decided that she was guilty, at least on some of the counts, the majority of the counts. Today, Peters was interviewed on Steve Bannon's show. The guest host, because of course you know Bannon is in prison, so he has all these guest hosts right now. The guest host asked Peters, do you think you're going to end up in prison? Do you think you're going to actually be behind bars? Here's what Peters had to say. Check out this video.
Who knows with these people? I mean, they haven't followed the law. So it's hard to predict what they'll do. I am a big threat to them. And so the things that were done in this trial that people can go back and watch on Frank's speech was just atrocious. I mean, people can see it for themselves. Unfortunately, the jury was not allowed to see what was going on. They were very shielded from the facts of this case, from the defense of this case, and witnesses that should have been able to present in my defense. So, you know, I mean, we're going to continue to fight this in the law, and in the meantime, until they either kill me or put me in prison, you know, I'm going to keep speaking out about the injustice, about what's going on in these big multinational global corporations that have these vote flipping software that is basically in Serbia. We've already shown that people that I'm accused of influencing, there's emails between them and Serbian Dominion employees. So it's just, it's a bigger deal than people realize.
So this is quintessential MAGA election denialism BS. This is what these election deniers do. They throw out buzzwords, they throw out scary sounding places, right? And they make it sound like there's something nefarious going on. Did you notice though that Peters never said what was contained in these supposed Serbian emails? They never provide details. And that's how they keep the sheep in line, right? The sheep are now going to go out. They're going to be out there bleating about Serbia and Dominion voting systems as if they know anything. And consider this as I go through all of these facts and everything. This is someone who, as you're going to hear, had a direct line of communication with Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. In fact, Peter says she had dinner with Lauren Boebert the night that these machines were violated, the night that she allowed people to take copies of this voting equipment and all the data. So she not only had, you know, close ties with someone who was close with Boebert, she was actually dining with Lauren Boebert. Do they really expect us to believe that if they had uncovered any evidence of election fraud, that Boebert wouldn't be over there on Fear News Network waving it around in front of the camera? Come on. And for those who aren't familiar with this case, here's a brief synopsis. Then I'm going to go through all the details from this trial and what just clinched the deal, what really got Peters in trouble and why she went down so hard so fast. Again, that's what she said. Anyway, so Tina Peters was the Mesa County elections clerk in the state of Colorado. So this was during the 2020 election and for a period of time after the 2020 election until she got in trouble. So she's an election denier, of course. She was hit with a 10-count indictment for granting illegal access to voting equipment to try to overturn the election for Trump. Peters was charged with 3 counts of attempting to influence a public servant, criminal impersonation, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, identity theft, first-degree official misconduct, violation of duty, and failing to comply with the Secretary of State. Peters' defense attorney didn't even try to dispute the fact that she gave someone access to this voting equipment. They just tried to frame it as if she was just doing her job. She was trying to safeguard this information, keep this data intact after the election had ended, to protect election integrity. Well, a witness took the stand, someone who works for this county, and they testified that all county clerks are given very detailed instructions of how to back up the equipment because the law requires that all election records are saved for 25 months. So there was absolutely no reason for Peters to give this data to an outsider and to have all of this stuff going on, all of this crazy conspiracy stuff. The prosecutor pointed out also that Peters lied, and she gave a fake employee ID to a man who then illegally entered the facility, copied the equipment's hard drive, and then spread it around. So this is a guy named Conan Hayes. So here's how this all went down. Here's what the jury heard. My lumpy pillow man, Mike Lindell, he somehow hooked up with an Ohio mathematician named Douglas Frank. Frank was traveling around the country. He was speaking. He was sharing information all online and at these events about his election fraud conspiracy theory. So Frank convinced everyone that he had developed, as a mathematician, he developed this algorithm that proved that it was statistically impossible for Trump to have lost the election. So Lindell makes the introduction between Frank and Peters, as I understand it. Frank and Peters then speak, and Frank says that Peters is the one who hatched the plan to copy all of this voting equipment, that she came up with this. Because he's just a mathematician, that's not Frank's thing. So he introduced Peters to Conan Hayes. Who is Conan Hayes, you ask? Is he some election expert? No. Hayes is a former professional surfer. For some reason, though, he's the one who ended up coming into the office. He used a fake ID that was supplied by Peters, and he copied the hard drives. Day 2 of the trial, the jury hears this recording of Peters. This was with her interview. This was her first interview with the prosecutor. So in this interview, Peters tries to deflect. She's like, oh, the Democratic Secretary of State is out to get me. She's always been trying to get me. She's trying to frame me. And then she denied knowing anything about how the county's passwords and all of their data have been leaked online. Obviously a lie, because she knew all about it. She was right up in there. So that's how she and others got caught, because this information was blasted out to other Trump election deniers, including a man named Ron Watkins. Now, that name might sound familiar to you because he is who some people believe to be Q of the whole QAnon BS. Watkins put all of this voting data online. He put it on the encrypted messaging site called Telegram. The jury also heard on day 2 that security cameras were suspiciously disabled when this Conan Hayes guy was at the election office copying all of this data. And a voting systems manager for the county testified that, quote, it was well known that Mesa County had the cameras on all the time, every day. So during this investigation, what they found is that Peters ordered her deputy to shut down the cameras in advance of this illegal breach. Not suspicious at all, right? Also, A woman named Brandy Bantz, she testified about an uncomfortable meeting that she had on April 23rd of 2021. This was with Peters, it was with Douglas Frank, and then a few other people. So Bantz is the Mesa County Elections Director. She told the jury that people at this meeting were discussing election fraud conspiracy theories. And then at the end of this meeting, Peters ordered her, Bantz meaning, and other county employees to attend an election conspiracy presentation that night. So this was a presentation held at a hotel. The presentation was being given by this mathematician, Douglas Frank, and Bantz told the jury, quote, "It was hard to hear. I didn't like being there. I had been taught to be nonpartisan. I didn't want people to think I supported those theories." And then she said that she feared for her safety at this presentation because, quote, "It was anti-elections and administrators and what we do." And then another person who was required to attend the presentation was a woman named Stephanie Wenholz. Wenholz was an election manager. She worked directly for Peters, and she surreptitiously recorded that meeting in the office with Peters and the other people and with this, Douglas Frank guy and all the other people earlier that day. So the prosecutor played this recording at the trial, and on the recording, you could hear Douglas Frank say, quote, "I think it's a feather in your cap if you can say we discovered this corruption in our county and we've cleaned it up." And then he offered to send in a team of people to help locate the quote unquote fraud. Frank said, quote, "They will do it for you. They are the best in the country." And then he also told Peters and the others, quote, "I've been going around the country helping lots of people. Mike Lindell pays me to do that, okay? So you don't have to pay me." So on to day 5 of the trial. So Peters' former chief deputy clerk, Belinda Nisly, the one she told to disable the cameras, Nisly testified. So Nisly was initially charged in this case as well. She took a cooperation deal. She testified for the prosecution. And she said in court that after Peters realized that all of this data had been leaked online, Peters went to Nisly and said, quote, "I'm fucked. It's on the internet. It was not supposed to be, and it's out there." And then Peters also told Nisly, quote, "I'm going to go to jail over this." So she knew that what she did was wrong. It was illegal. Nisly then went on to say, quote, "The disk or drive that she had sent to him," meaning Hayes, "I now know had been published by someone, and it was up at the symposium, and that she was going to have to answer for it." So she's referring to that ridiculous symposium that Lumpy Pillow Man held, saying, "Oh, this is going to overturn the election. They're going to pull it down." Remember him saying that? They're going to pull it down. They're going to pull down the election. I don't know what they were going to pull it down off of. But anyway, so Nisly, she admitted that she helped Peters to obtain this security badge that they gave to this Conan Hayes guy. They got it under the name of another man. And at Peters' direction, Nisly went out and she purchased disposable phones. Peters told her, "Go get yourself and get a phone for me because, we're in trouble." Then this Nisly woman also downloaded the encrypted messaging app, Telegram or Signal, I think it was. And then she obtained a new email address. And when asked why did Peters want you to do these things, Nisly said, quote, "She did not want anything to be on my personal phone or the county phone that could be used against me or them or whomever." Totally normal when you're just doing your job, right? So Mesa County Elections Manager Sandra Brown also testified against Peters. She was also charged in this case, but Brown, like the others, she took a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to 1 felony and 1 misdemeanor. So she was sentenced to 30 days in jail, 100 hours of community service, 2 years of probation, and a $2,000 fine. So keep that in mind as I'm talking about Peters because, she took a plea deal and did 30 days, to 2 crimes. So this Brown woman, she was present when Conan Hayes copied all of this election data. And she said in court, quote, I was a little leery because I knew by doing that he was breaking our contract with Dominion voting systems. If everything's not followed to a T and you plug foreign stuff into the server, it voids the trusted build and breaks the contract on the equipment. However, Brown didn't know who this Hayes guy was. She didn't know his real identity because Peters lied to her as well. She said that Hayes was this other man whose ID they were using. And she said, oh, he's going to be coming on. He's going to be a permanent employee. I'm going to train him as your backup. And then Brown said that she became suspicious of who Hayes actually was because of a few of the comments that she overheard that day. And she said Hayes and Peters were, quote, talking about images, and if they were able to do forensic images on the system in Arizona, and then they were talking about Antrim County, which is in another state as well. So it seemed a little questionable, but I didn't know what kind of background he had. So they're talking about doing this stuff in completely other states. And so, yeah, raised some suspicions. And then Brown later learned that pictures had been taken of the day that this Conan Hayes guy was there, of the machine and of the data, and and what's known as the trusted build. So that when they say trusted build, what they're referring to is basically it's after an election is over, county employees meet with the company whose machine it is. In this case, it was Dominion Voting Systems. So they meet with one of their reps and they essentially do a reset of the system for the next upcoming election. Brown explained that process is supposed to be extremely secure. No photos are allowed. No people are allowed in that room unless they've been cleared first. They have to have a security clearance. And other people explain, you don't want people, just anyone in that room. I mean, somebody could be in that room. They have a criminal history. And, now you have all kinds of questions like, how secure is this information? So anyway, evidently, Peters also told Brown, I'm fucked. She said that to her as well when she found out about this stuff online. Then Peters also advised Brown to get a burner phone. And she said, you are only to communicate with me, meaning Peters, through an encrypted app called Signal. Don't communicate with me in any other way. And then Peters told Brown that they were likely being monitored at that point. And when Brown eventually turned herself in, she said Peters went to visit her in jail, and Peters told her, quote, I love you and you have support and don't say anything. I mean, you're claiming you did nothing wrong, but you sure are doing a lot of cloak and dagger stuff. And this part is really interesting. So Brown said she received a call from a woman named Sharona Bishop. Brown testified Bishop also told her to go get a burner phone. And then this Bishop woman told her, go remove the server from the voting machine. So Brown said, no, I'm not doing that, because she knew she would get in a lot of trouble for it. And she knew that they were already investigating. And what makes this part so interesting is that Sharona Bishop, at that time, was the campaign manager for Lauren Boebert. So, the Colorado Congresswoman. And Belinda Nisly also testified Sharona Bishop ordered her to take a computer from the elections department before the Secretary of State had a chance to seize it. So this woman doesn't work in this office. She has no say-so in this office, and she's ordering all the employees around. And Nisly told the jury, quote, I said I could not do that. She was not my boss, and I wasn't going to take orders from her. And then Bishop actually testified. She took the stand and testified about all of this. She testified for the defense. This woman seems like she's got a little few squirrels up in there. She's got like some screws loose or something. She seems a little nutty. According to the Colorado Sun news outlet, the judge at one point was conferring with both of the attorneys, right? The judge called the attorneys to the bench. He's talking with these attorneys. Bishop, during this time, starts smiling and winking at the jurors from the witness box. I mean, okay, creepy. I mean, that would be a huge turnoff for me if she started doing that. I don't know if I'd be smiling if I'm her, because the judge warned her before she testified, you're opening yourself up to charges, because right now she's listed as an unindicted co-conspirator, but she was in on all of this. She was present during that first meeting with Douglas Frank when this whole scheme was hatched. There were also a bunch of messages between Bishop and Peters, and it showed she was involved from the beginning. She was in on the whole plot. And when she testified, she didn't try to deny any of it. She said, yeah, I took part in this whole thing. She said, I was a concerned citizen. I was a voter. That's why I was involved. Now, the problem is why she probably hasn't been charged. She didn't hold a position of authority in the county clerk's office. So unlike Peters, she didn't technically violate an oath. She didn't break election laws. Seems like they could get her on something, though. I don't know. But anyway, Tina Peters refused to testify, and then she complained about it. Then she complained that, quote, I just feel like I have been prevented from providing a defense for myself. Well, there's your chance. Get on the witness stand and talk. I mean, and Peters said that she would testify, but she said, quote, I don't want prosecutors to come in and bully me around like I have seen them do to others. Such wimpy crybabies. I swear to God, these people try to act so tough. And then when they're pressured a little tiny bit, they're like, oh, you hurt me. It's like just ridiculous. Anyway, she told the judge, quote, I just ask that you restrain them and rein them in. This will affect my decision whether to testify. That's not the judge's duty. That's not his responsibility. I mean, if they're asking outlandish questions that are off topic, have nothing to do with the case, yes, but, get over it. I mean, grow up. Anyway, the judge refused this request, so she never took the stand. So closing arguments were a couple of days ago, when she was found guilty, or excuse, I'm thinking it's a couple of days ago. This was yesterday. The days are turning into weeks and weeks are turning into months. Anyway, so yesterday morning, there were closing arguments. The jury came back with a verdict of guilty on 7 out of 10 counts in the late afternoon or early evening. So 4 of the convictions are felonies. They are 3 counts of attempting to influence a public servant, and then 1 count of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation. Peters was found guilty also of 3 misdemeanors, so first-degree official misconduct, violation of duty, and failure to comply with an order from the Secretary of State. Peters was acquitted on the charges of criminal impersonation, conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, and identity theft. So she will be sentenced October 3rd, just in time for the election, unless something else happens. She is going to appeal, so that could push it back, but she is now facing over 20 years in prison because of this. And here's the thing. With people like Mike Lindell, I know he's just not bright enough to know that this is all BS, that Trump lied about the whole election fraud conspiracy, that this is bogus. I don't know with Peters. I mean, on one hand, I think, yeah, she really is not that bright either. She's probably in the Mike Lindell camp and doesn't get it. But then again, I don't know. I don't know. Some things that she says and does make me think, she really does know this is BS and she's just going along with it. So I don't know. In any case, guess who's not going to be casting a ballot for Trump this year because she is now a convicted felon. Yay. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. So, anyway, I will let you know when I hear more. I will definitely let you know when she's sentenced. But yeah, all of the Trump supporters, all of these, election fraud conspiracy theorists and all of these crazy Q loons, one by one, they're facing consequences. Not all of them, I should say. I mean, Ron Watkins rode off into the sunset. A lot of these people are getting a pass, but I have faith. I have faith in karma. It'll come back. Anyway, I will let you know. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.